Hello, Inedigabitti. This is Nocturne Gallery. You can learn something new about art in this video, or if you just want to enjoy the paintings and music, switch the audio track to Esperanto. There you'll hear only the music and see the artworks. Relax and enjoy art your way. Welcome to the Nocturne Gallery. Today we're stepping into, well, maybe the deeper shadows to look at Paul Gauguin. Not the Gauguin you maybe picture first, the sunny Tahitian canvases. We're starting with the man who made this incredibly radical choice. He basically threw away a predictable, respectable life, Paris stockbroker, good job, security, and swapped it for poverty, for artistic revolt. It's quite a starting point.
It really is. And it wasn't just like a career change, was it? It was deeper, an ideological thing. What we want to unpack today is that intense philosophy driving him, his search for primitivism, and this core belief he had that to make the art of the future, he had to escape Europe, flee civilization. He wasn't just changing jobs. He was, burning everything down behind him.
It's staggering when you look at that before picture, isn't it? I mean, he was doing really well, a successful stockbroker, working for Monsieur Bertin, earning 30,000 francs a year, which back then was serious money.
Oh, absolute serious money he had made by conventional standards. Security, respectability. His wife met Danish woman. She had these dreams, being married to a millionaire banker. And Gauguin was kind of on that path.
Set up for life.
Yeah.
Energetic guy. But then something shifted. He was collecting art already, right? But it became more than a hobby.
It became an obsession, really. And then, boom, age 35, there's a financial downturn happening. He walks into his office, talks to his boss, and basically says, look, I'm an artist deep down. Being a businessman was an accident. I can't wait any longer. And he just quit, walked out.
Oh, just imagine being met in that moment, the sheer panic. And it wasn't just the quitting, was it? He'd already been spending their money.
Exactly. That's a key point. Long before he quit, the money was going out. But not on, safe investments, not on stocks. He was buying paintings, Cézanne, Manet's, Renoir. His passion for art was already hitting their bank account hard.
So when he quit, things went south fast.
Immediately, the bottom just dropped out. It's quite a brutal story, actually. The descent into poverty was quick and humiliating. He had this amazing collection he'd built up, the art he loved. He had to sell it all. And he only got about 5,000 francs for it, a fraction of its worth, probably.
From debating stock futures to what?
To pasting advertising billboards on walls.
I know.
For 5 francs a day. Think about that. Exhausted, trying to earn enough money just to buy medicine for his sick son, Clovis. It's grim.
And that physical hardship, you can see how it would fuel his contempt for the modern world he'd left behind. He started really hating this idea of the mechanical world, the Paris Universal Exhibition, the brand new Eiffel Tower. He loathed it all.
He really did. He had this term, the useful man, the businessman, the official, the cog in the machine. He called that type a hideous caricature. He wanted out, completely out.
So, escape. Where did he try first? He didn't just go straight to Tahiti, did he?
No. His first attempts were, frankly, disastrous. He fled the Paris financial world, hoping for freedom, maybe make some money, and ended up in Panama. The canal was being built. He thought he could maybe work there.
From one machine to another, basically.
Exactly. But worse, he called the canal digging equipment this monster dredge. And it wasn't just the machine. It was yellow fever, death all around. It was the same relentless grind he hated, just dirtier and deadlier.
So Panama was a bust. But it pushed him onward, didn't it, to Martinique?
Yeah.
And that seems to be where things started to click, artistically at least. What did he find there?
Martinique was pivotal. Despite the awful heat, being sick, still being poor, it was the first real glimpse of what he was looking for. He saw the local people there possessing this animal zest, he called it, a connection to life that felt completely different from Europe. He talked about the kindness he found, especially among his mulatto friends there, a warmth totally unlike the sort of cold formality of Paris. And his painting changed. Luxuriant colors, he said. Fresh, primitive vitality. That experience, it really solidified his ideas.
Okay, so this brings us to his core philosophy. This idea of primitivism and something he called synthesis. It wasn't just about painting palm trees. What did he actually mean by synthesis?
Right. Synthesis for Gauguin was about blending two seemingly opposite things. He wanted the rich, glowing color he admired in the Venetian masters, think Titian, deep, emotional color, but he wanted to combine that with the simple, strong, almost calm lines you see in ancient Egyptian art or other primitive designs. The goal was decorative art, not realism, treating the canvas as a whole, a symbolic thing.
Hold on, that sounds a bit contradictory, doesn't it? Using sophisticated Venetian color techniques to achieve simplicity. If you want primitive, why not just paint, crudely?
Ugh. But it wasn't about being technically bad. It was about finding a different kind of truth. Symbolic truth, not just visual accuracy. This is where he breaks hard from the Impressionists. They were all about capturing light, movement, exactly what the eye sees in a fleeting moment. Almost scientific. Gauguin rejected that completely. Synthesis meant stripping away the unnecessary detail to get to the idea, the feeling, the soul of the subject. He wanted the painting to feel calm, almost like a religious icon, conveying something deeper than just appearance. Repose of the soul, he called it.
So emotional impact, symbolic meaning, that's what he thought the primitives understood naturally. And this commitment went beyond just paint, right? His choice of medium mattered too.
Absolutely. The woodcut. He deliberately revived woodcuts. He loved it because it felt like going back to the primitive times of printmaking. He wanted that rougher, more direct feel.
Why was that roughness so important to him, that blocky look?
Because it was the total opposite of the modern mechanical processes coming in. Photography, photomechanical reproduction, they were all about smooth, precise copies. The woodcut is physically demanding. It forces you to simplify. It's blocky, direct, pushes you away from just copying reality and towards these fundamental shapes and forms. For him, using woodcuts was almost an act of protest. He saw it as fighting for the restoration of primitive art and life against what he called mechanical, dehumanized efficiency.
He really saw himself as fighting a kind of cultural war then.
Completely. He said the primitives everywhere were the truly great artists because they weren't afraid to express big human emotions directly without fussing over perfect realism. He wasn't just painting, he was trying to lead a charge back to something essential.
And he created this whole persona around it too.
Oh, yeah. He called himself Gauguin, the savage who hates a wearisome civilization. There's that amazing quote where he compares himself to a titan, jealous of his creator, making his own little creation. This idea of being a kind of primal creative force was crucial to him.
Okay, so armed with this philosophy, this persona, he finally heads for Tahiti. The ultimate goal, right? Paradise. 63 days on a ship. He arrives in Papeete expecting what? And finding.
Expecting Eden, basically. Untouched, primordial world. And he found, well, Paris in Polynesia, as he put it. The shock must have been huge. Officials walking around in stiff Parisian clothes, their wives gossiping about the latest fashions from Europe, brass bands playing. It was a mini colonial version of the very European society he'd just spent years trying to escape.
And the authorities weren't exactly welcoming, were they?
No, they were immediately suspicious. He had official papers saying he was there to study the local culture, paint, document things. But the governor thought he might be a spy, maybe for the anti-colonial newspapers back in France. So the governor basically shut him out, refused to give him any real help or information about the Polynesian people. He was stuck.
Which forced him to leave the little colonial bubble.
Exactly. He realized the official Tahiti was useless to him. He had to get away from the snobbishness, as he called it, of the white colony and go into the interior to find anything authentic.
And did he find it there? In the interior?
He started to. He found remnants of the older culture, definitely. He encountered the local beliefs, the superstitions, things like the fear of Tupopea's spirits of the dead, demons that haunted the night, taboos like the one about the through-my-fault crab you weren't supposed to touch. It was this darker, spiritual, fear-filled side of life that really fascinated him.
And that directly led to paintings like Spirit of the Dead Watching, arguably his most famous Tahitian work, capturing that fear, that otherness.
Yes, he felt he was finally tapping into something deep. Something savage in the human psyche, as he saw it. And this is the really biting irony of his whole story. He'd fled Europe, fled the stock market to escape the constant pressure, the worry about money, the need to work and plan, only to find himself in Tahiti, still completely trapped by it. He said he was cursed by a Tahitian spirit or demon more terrible than a Tahitian could imagine. And that tea was the European compulsion to worry, especially about money.
So the very thing he admired in the Tahitians, their ability to be carefree, to say, no IU, doesn't matter, just live for the day.
He couldn't do it himself. He, the former stockbroker who had actually achieved financial success, couldn't shake off that ingrained anxiety. The machine he hated wasn't just external anymore, it was inside him.
And eventually, reality bites again. He runs out of money, has to go back.
Yeah. Financial struggles forced him back to Europe in 1893. He tried to make a go of it in Paris again, set up this bizarre studio, trying to live like a Tahitian in Paris, wearing strange clothes, had a pet monkey. It didn't work. It was seen as eccentric, maybe a bit pathetic. Then he got into a fight with some sailors, broke his leg badly, an injury that plagued him for life. And while he was laid up, the woman he was with, a model, robbed him and left. Just one disaster after another.
It's just this cycle of defiance and failure, isn't it? Did he stay in Europe?
No, he couldn't stand it. He scraped together enough money to go back to the South Seas, this time to the Marquesas Islands, even more remote than Tahiti, for his final years. And even there, right at the end, he was still fighting the system. He got into trouble protesting against a corrupt local gendarme accusing him of theft. He was actually sentenced to prison and fined shortly before he died, still battling those hideous caricatures of officialdom.
So he died poor, sick, in conflict.
Physically broken, yes, impoverished, struggling mentally too, by accounts. But the contradiction is what's so powerful. This man started as a respectable stockbroker, embraced absolute poverty for his art. He fled civilization, but, he needed the ships and structure of colonialism to even get there. He called himself a savage, but painted with techniques honed from studying the sophisticated Venetian masters. It's fascinating.
So how do we wrap this up? What's the final image we're left with? Despite all the suffering, did that savage spirit endure?
I think it did, right to the end. There's a letter he wrote to a friend very near his death that really captures it. He was reflecting on his life, his pain, his art.
What did he say?
He wrote something like, "Today, if I could, I would paint a Christ climbing to Calvary, staggering under the cross, gritting his teeth but smiling." And then he adds, "The pride of being able to smile despite the pain is what makes us divine."
Wow. That pride in the struggle itself, in the rebellion.
Exactly. That's the essence. He never gave up the identity he chose, no matter the cost.
So maybe that's the thought to leave you with. Gauguin found his own kind of divinity, perhaps. Not in comfort or success, but in that fierce pride, that refusal to conform. It makes you think, doesn't it? What core beliefs, what sense of your own savagery, perhaps, would you hold on to so tightly that you'd be willing to walk away from the easy path of 30,000 francs a year to defend it? That's the challenge posed by the life of Gauguin, the artist who dared to be a savage.